Elementary music teacher friend, you love what you do, but you might feel unappreciated and, in fact, unseen some days. You may even feel like you're on a music teacher island and just want to connect with other music teachers who can relate to both your struggles and wins when it comes to teaching elementary music. I get you and understand completely the feelings you're having. That's why each and every week, the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast will provide you with solo and guest episodes that will help you realize you're not alone in your music teaching journey. Throughout each episode, my goal is for you to be able to walk away with actionable steps and ideas to help you feel like you're ready to take on the new week with whatever challenges may be thrown your way. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Peresta, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're at home, in your car, in the shower, or wherever else you're listening, grab your cup of coffee or whatever other beverage is nearby and listen in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. So today I wanted to come on and talk about overwhelm, and I've been feeling it. I feel like if I'm feeling it, others are feeling it, and it is something that's very real right now, especially in the month of December. I use a lot of technology in my business. I use a lot of technology when I'm working with teachers. I am always either on Facebook doing a podcast, Zoom, editing podcasts, so many different audio and video things all the time. So Monday, my Facebook Live, I went on to download it and just to look at it, and I was frozen. So I use a company that I do Facebook Live through, so I am able to share my agenda and things like that. And I had to reach out to them, and they're like, we don't know what happened. Not even kidding you. About 30 minutes later, I was editing some podcast episodes that are coming out in the future, and the audio in the middle, I was towards the end of editing one of the podcasts, and the screen froze. And it literally deleted everything I had just done, which took me an hour. I had to sit there for a minute and just be like, what is happening today? What is going on today? Like, it was terrible. And if you follow me on Instagram, you saw my post about that, which just like, I don't remember exactly what I said now because I usually write posts like that in the moment, just with what I'm feeling. But it was something like, there's going to be days where, and we're going to get into that, but technology just doesn't work. Where it feels like with your students, all the technology things you've planned, maybe you have the best lesson planned out ever, and you're using, Flipgrid or Pear Deck or whatever it might be, and you've created so many different Google Slides, and you're ready to go, and you're so excited, you got it all ready, and then something didn't save right. You can't share your screen. Your internet's down, which is the rest of my week. Yesterday, I have my Harmony membership. I have a monthly member call where we get together. Teachers can just talk about their week, ask questions, and lean on each other for support. I had a guest expert coming in yesterday for our call, and my internet was out. It just died. I don't know. You say internet died. I don't know what it's called. But anyways, it went out an hour before I was supposed to go live. So I put my little laptop in my car and my little headphones. I guess they're not little, and I drove to the latest. I don't know why I said the latest. It's not like it's the latest one. The closest Starbucks is what I meant to say. And I sat there and I did my Zoom call from my car. It looked like I was sitting in a cave. It was not the best lighting. You probably couldn't hear me very well because the mic, I have my blue snowball right here. Well, on my computer, you guys know that the microphones on your computer are not the greatest. Katie Wonderly, I interviewed her for her episode will come on the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast in probably a month or two. And she shared a lot of tips about technology. And one thing she said on there that I honestly love, and just when teachers and people in general are vulnerable about that things aren't perfect. And those of you that think that other teachers who are just amazing at technology, you see them sharing all these lessons and you're like, it must be so easy for them, or they just throw it together or super simple. It's not always the case. There's going to be days where things don't work. There's going to be days where you don't have students show up when you've spent 3 hours planning a lesson and you have maybe 3 kids come. And the 3 kids that come, you have one maybe doing somersaults on their bed, one's twirling in circles in their chair, and the other one, all you see is this part of their head. There's going to be days like that. It's overwhelming. It is overwhelming. And by now, after you've been, maybe almost 10 months into, the COVID situation where you relating what you went through in the spring to now, it's easier ish because you kind of feel like you got your bearings a little bit. And if you are asked to shift and pivot, we're going to get into the word pivot in a minute because I feel like that's the word of the year. But if you've been asked to shift and pivot and change up the way you're teaching, or your teaching situation changes in a quick minute, then you don't feel as overwhelmed doing it because you kind of feel like you got your bearings a little bit, or maybe you've already done that situation. But all that to say, I have a lot of people who are like, oh, well, you're really good at technology, or you just are always, I get messages like this all the time. Jessica, you're so positive. Thank you for always being joyful and having a positive attitude. I appreciate it. It's really a breath of fresh air. And I'm not going to lie to you. I am not fake on social media ever. I'm not one of those people that's going to be like, this, and then behind the scenes, I'm like slamming doors and, but at the same time, I feel the overwhelm too. I have felt the weight on my shoulders when I feel like I actually just hired someone. She's going to help me with being my content manager for the Domestic Musician because there's too much on my plate. But when I get messages and I feel like I've had an off day, like the other day where my internet didn't work, my video froze up, my audio was frozen on the screen. It was a whole week of that. It's hard for me to show up and mentor teachers. Can I be real with you for a minute and say that? Can I be real with you that Jessica's not always perfect and I have off days and hard days just like everyone else? Just like everyone else. But let's switch to the next point in the agenda because I want to keep moving. Okay. So why it's important to keep moving forward. We're all going to have days. Oops, there we go. We're all going to have days like in weeks like what I just shared, correct? But how do you keep moving forward? And why is it important to keep moving forward? Well, there's been more points I can think back to when I started my elementary music teaching journey in 2004. And I walked into this classroom in the middle of the school year. If you are not familiar with my story, I shared it in episode 1. But when I walked into this classroom in the middle of the school year, it did not have music for 7 years. I had no teaching resources. I had no instruments. I had no mentor that knew anything about music. I had no one to follow in their footsteps who left me resources that, I use this. This is what you could use. I had students who weren't familiar with what a music class was, and therefore it was a struggle for me to know how to meet them where they were. I had expectations put on me by, put on a performance in as little as a month when I had kids, 5th graders who had never had a music class. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can't just tell them to sing a song. It's like, it just was a lot of moving parts. So talk about overwhelm. Part of me felt like, if I can be honest with you, God 100% put me in that position. I, in fact, in college prayed about it, and I knew that I wanted to work in a low-income school. It was my heart and passion. I didn't know where that was. I didn't know what door was going to open. I didn't know if a position would open up in the middle of the school year. I didn't know if I would need to substitute teach and then get a job the following fall. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. But I also remember praying about wanting to teach at a school that hadn't, that maybe I could help start up a music program that hadn't had music for a while, because I remember hearing about, kind of through the grapevine, or like in some elementary music methods class and things like that, of schools that were in this year, this, like the early 2000s was, and it's still the case today, you guys, but music was always the first thing to go. It was first thing to go. It was like, we need budget cuts, let's just cut music, or art. It was first things to go. And so I knew, I was like, I want to be part of the reason that one of the schools that maybe hasn't had music for a while, that they can have music again. But let me tell you something. Even though I felt like I was placed in that position, I remember vividly all the thoughts I had. Why am I here? These kids don't care. None of these adults in this building care that I'm here. This classroom is like beat up. The walls were ridiculously like torn up. They needed to be painted. It stunk in that classroom. It had been sitting kind of empty for years. It was just kind of like a storage closet. They had like a broken hand drum that they thought they were blessing me with by just sitting it on the shelf. And I'm like, what can I do with that? You know, someone who had previously used this classroom as a drama room, and all these like stinky, smelly drama clothes, I don't even know how old they were just shoved in these closets. Nobody had even cleaned it out. I got this desk for myself that was like rickety, you know, where like the cabinets didn't, I mean, not the cabinets, the drawers wouldn't even open. They were kind of stuck. They gave me desks for my in my music classroom for my students, desks. I'm like, wait a minute, do we not just have some chairs sitting around? Or I don't need anything in here. I can just have them sit on the floor. It was hard. It was overwhelming. I could have just said, forget this. I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to keep teaching piano lessons at the studio I've been working at and just tell them to give me more students. I'm not doing this. But I am so glad I didn't do that. Why? So why am I sharing that story? Why is it important to keep moving forward? Why this year you're facing something, not like exactly like my story, but you're facing something where you're facing something you've never faced before. Who ever thought you would be teaching during a pandemic? Who, like me, has a grandparent, and my grandma's in heaven now, but who had a grandparent or has still talk about, you know, the Great Depression and the struggles they faced? And, you know, my dad talks about, because my grandma lived through the Depression, she lived very frugally, and him and his brothers would wear shoes to school with holes in them and things. That's all that she could afford. And so that's what I thought of with the pandemic. I never in a million years thought I would be living through one. How many of you can relate to that? And maybe you haven't ever really stopped or had time to stop to think about that. And it makes you feel stuck in a way because you haven't had time to stop and think about those things. But I want you to know that thinking back to March, when all of this first went down, and how tough it was, how you didn't know what was even going to happen the following day. You were worried about your students. You were worried about yourself. You were worried about what's going to happen in your classroom. Do you need to cover your instruments? Do you need to take your instruments out? How much do you need to disinfect? What do you need to do? How do you need to set up instruction at home? What is your district wanting you to use? I mean, are they giving you any instructions or guidelines? Or are you just having to figure it out? They say send home paper packets. Why are you needing to do that? Are the kids really going to do that? Are you ever going to see these papers be turned in? All these thoughts that went through your head. But I want you to think about what would have happened right then and there if you had just said, forget this, I'm done. You wouldn't be where you are right now. You would not be at this point if you had given up. I know it is overwhelming. It's stressful. It's tough. It's hard to wake up each day without knowing what you're going to face that day, right? Let's keep it real with each other. But if you give up every single time it gets hard, you're not going to move forward. Okay. So let me talk about this a little bit. Mindset is so important. You're going to hear self-care. I've talked about self-care, but you're hearing self-care just thrown around everywhere on the internet right now. Take care of yourself, teachers. Take care of yourself. Don't forget to take care of you. You got to put yourself first. Can't pour from an empty cup. And you're just like, stop. I'm sick of hearing about that. Like, let's be real. How am I supposed to take care of myself and practice self-care when I'm barely getting by? But I want you to remember, mindset matters, okay? This does not mean that everything is sunshine and rainbows. You're going to have good days. You're going to have days where you feel like your kiddos have shown up for you. You've shown up for them. The classes were really engaged. It felt like the lessons you planned were really good and the kids got a lot out of it. And you're like, man, this was a good day. Then you're going to have certain days or certain classes where you're like, I quit. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. That's normal. It's normal for it to be ebb and flow. It can't always just be like this all the time. Okay. And so first of all, allow yourself to feel those emotions, but it's important to keep moving forward. Don't stay stuck. I want you to focus on the bigger goal. So first of all, let's think about how far you've come from March to now. This is December. Think about all you've accomplished. Think about it. You went from maybe not knowing much about technology to using technology all the time, to knowing now about tons of different technology, knowing how to share a screen and create slides and how to share them with your students, how to have them record videos and you watch them and share them with the class and all these things in Google Classroom and all the stuff. Did you know how to do any of that? Maybe you knew how to do some of it. And of course, some of you watching you're really good at technology, and others are over here where you're like more like me, or you're like the paper pen kind of person. But at the same time, think about how far you've come. Think about how far you've taken your students. Yes, we all miss the normal way it used to be. But I want you to think about mindset is so important. When you feel like giving up, remember how far you've come, how resilient you've been, how you keep changing your lessons and adapting and modifying, and you're not giving up no matter how hard it is. That is what's going to help you keep moving forward, is remembering your why and remembering how far you've come. If you've already come this far from March to now, think about how much further you're going to keep going. And also think about when all of this pandemic stuff is done, how much you've learned, how much you're going to be able to take back with you into your music classroom, how much that you are able to, you feel like you can think quicker on your feet now, that adapting lessons is no big thing. You just are so used to rolling with the punches now. It's just not a biggie anymore. So there's so much you are learning. You maybe haven't had time to stop and think about all your learning right now, the ways that you're able to adapt and adjust and move forward into the future and into your future teaching. But I want you to remember the bigger goal is your students, is teaching them music. Okay. And I think that's my next point. So let me put that on the screen. So your bigger goal is your students and them learning music. Now, from talking with many, many, many music teachers, part of what may be keeping you stuck is the fact that this is not like you're maybe grieving some things. Like, for example, you're looking at lesson plans that you would normally be doing last December. And you're like, I just want to create this lesson plan the way I normally would. And I hate using the word normally because I don't feel like there's ever a normal, even in a regular school year. But you know what I mean? You have all these lesson plans for December you normally would be doing, or holiday performances. And, the kids are just having so much fun as the winter break approaches. But you can't stay stuck on that. You can't stay stuck on, I wish I could, or I want to do this, or if I could still do this lesson, my kids would be able to this. You can't do that. That, going back to mindset, is what's going to keep you from moving forward. You can't control what you can't control. It will keep you stuck. It will keep you from moving forward. It will keep you from being the best teacher you can be for your kids. So your bigger goal is your students and having them learn music. And I want to touch on that a minute. It's not the way another teacher does it. Your bigger goal is not to recreate lessons the same exact way you see someone else doing it. Your bigger goal is not to see a teacher's using this technology over here and sharing all these cool things with their kids, and you're over here just like, I don't really know how to do all that. Your bigger goal is to teach your kids music. Your bigger goal is to show up for them, not the way another teacher does, the way you can. You, by the way, you can get all the advice in the whole world. There's so many amazing podcasts. One of my Facebook Lives was sharing some of my favorite music ed podcasts. Check all of them out. Get all the free PD you can get from blog posts, podcasts, Facebook Lives. Gosh, my brain isn't working. Webinars, challenges. I have one coming up. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But at the same time, don't let all the advice you're hearing keep you stuck, because you will hear so many different pieces of advice, and that will keep you stuck by just hearing all the advice. And you're like, wait, I was going to try this, and I heard someone else mention this, and then I heard someone else mention this, and I heard someone else. For example, just yesterday, I heard two people talk about doing Carol of the Bells. One of them talked about doing a lesson plan this way. And another one, she was doing it like she found this rock version of Carol of the Bells. And then I had one over here who was doing more of a music appreciation type of lesson with breaking down the song. Are either of those ways wrong? No. Do both of those teachers get to choose what's best for their students? Yes. Do each of these two teachers, teacher A and teacher B, I guess I could name them, I don't know, Johnny and Emily, do they know their students better than anyone else? Yes. If this teacher tried what this teacher was doing, would it work? Maybe. But maybe she picked that approach because of the fact that she knows her students. She knows what she's comfortable teaching. She knows what's going to work with them. She doesn't know if this lesson's going to go over well, but she's still going to try. When this teacher heard the other teacher talk about the way she was doing a Carol of the Bells, you know what I would do? And what I still do to this day, I jot it down and go, that's a good idea. But what I don't do is say, oh, I'm going to revamp my whole lesson plan and I'm going to do it that way now, not the other way. I'm going to do it this way. No, because that's what's going to keep you stuck and stressed out and from moving forward. So take that idea, put it in a Google Doc if you have ideas saved somewhere. However you stay organized and keep track of your lesson plans, put it somewhere. Put it in an idea bank. So maybe you can pull that idea out next year. But don't you dare hear other people give you advice and songs and lessons and then go, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I should change it up and do that. No, because that's going to keep you stuck. Okay? So your bigger goal is your students, not the way another teacher does it, not the way you think you should be doing it. If you're anything like me, raising my hand, I'll be the biggest one to raise my hand right now. I am the biggest overanalyzer, my worst and harshest critic. I will teach a lesson and then say, that wasn't good. My students didn't like it. I should have done it better. I should have planned it more. I should have spent more time on it. Should have spent more time thinking it out. I should. How many of you do that? How many of you should all over yourselves? It's normal to do that. Stop thinking about the way you should be doing it and just do it. What is your bigger goal? To teach music to your students. If it's not the same way as someone else, if you're not doing an activity the way someone else does, don't say, I should be doing that Carol of the Bells activity that way. Say, I'm doing it this way and I'm confident in this. This is the way I planned it. I know I planned it this way for a reason and I'm going to go with it. That idea is awesome though, but I'm not going to say I should have done it that way. And the other thing I want to say about this is, and I touched on this a minute ago, is your bigger goal, like I said, is to teach music to your students. Not the way you did last year, but the way your students need now. I know what you're saying, but Jessica, my students can't sing. So can they still create music? Can they still hum? Can they still listen to music? Can they still interact with music? Can they still do music appreciation? Can you adapt the lessons and the songs to reach them where they're at? Of course you can. Your kids are still learning music, and that's the bigger goal. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is to stop and reflect. You're so busy teaching right now, as you should be, that you haven't really had time. After the springtime, from March to May, when things just, let's be honest, went crazy, you probably this summer a little bit had time to think about what just happened. What in the world just happened? What did I just go through? Was that real life? Because that was crazy, right? But since August or September, whenever your school started, to now, you probably haven't had time to really stop and reflect. And here's a couple reasons why. Number one, your teaching situation keeps changing. You've been in person, you've been asynchronous, you've been synchronous, you've been virtual, you've been on a car, you've been back home, you've been back in school teaching from your classroom, no kiddos in there, some kids in there teaching from your classroom, but everybody's at home. And then rotate it, flip it and reverse it, and it all starts over again. That's going to cause you to not be able to reflect on anything but the fact that you feel like you're losing your sanity, right? But here is what, let me make sure I didn't miss anything about that. Yeah, so you don't really have time to stop and think about what's been working or what you want to do moving forward because you are in the thick of it. It's like a snowball that just keeps moving forward and doesn't stop. You haven't had time to stop and go, let me reflect on that lesson because, or let me reflect if I can create some better slides next time for my kids. No, you don't have time to do that right now. You just got to keep moving forward. You got to keep going. There's no reflecting. So winter break coming up is the perfect time to do that. I'm not talking about taking the whole 2 weeks to sit there and go, I'm going to sit and reflect, think about my teaching and what I've been doing. No, you need to, first of all, go back to that word self-care. Breaks are put there intentionally for you to have a break. That's why it's called winter break. Enjoy time with your family. Enjoy time sitting there in pajamas all day, every day. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Enjoy time, like just enjoying going Christmas shopping, getting presents for your family and friends, and sitting there listening to Christmas movie, watch movies. Don't think about school at all. Then after Christmas, that's the time you can kind of set aside a day or two to start thinking about what you're wanting to do once January comes. That's the perfect time to reflect on, has what I've been doing been working? Or do I want to move on and do something else? So what's keeping you stuck? Think about that, because what's keeping you stuck right now is not what's going to be keeping someone else stuck. Everybody's different. Everybody has different things that is keeping them stuck. Don't compare yourself to other teachers. Maybe that's what's keeping you stuck. And we've already touched on that a bit. Maybe you're feeling stuck because you feel like you have been trying to implement more ways of teaching, more technology, and it's just not being received well by your students. You feel like you're really struggling with lesson planning and really struggling to, maybe you have 45 minutes to fill the time of, and you're really struggling with how to do that while you're teaching from your house or from your classroom to a screen. Maybe what's keeping you stuck is the fact that this is so still new to you and you're just tired of it and you're ready to move forward and you're just feeling stuck. Identify what's keeping you stuck. What's keeping you from moving forward? What's causing you overwhelm? And then once you identify that, then keep moving forward. Okay. Let's talk about two more things. I feel like the word of the year is pivot. And of course, when I say this word, I immediately think of the Friends episode where Ross is yelling, pivot, as they're moving a couch up this teeny tiny staircase. I feel like the word of the year is pivot. How many of you have been pivoting left and right all the time? You've just been pivoting. You maybe have been told to pivot 100,000 different teaching ways when you don't really have a choice. You feel like you're pivoting when it comes to lesson planning and recreating lessons and modifying lessons and adapting them to fit the needs of your students. You've been pivoting all the time. You're pivoting when technology doesn't work and you're like, well, can't even get on Zoom today. What am I going to do instead? You feel like you're pivoting when it comes to someone that maybe has asked you to put on a holiday performance, but everybody's virtually and you're like, what? How am I supposed to do that? So you're pivoting, figuring out how to do it. So pivot, I feel like, is the word of the year. And it probably feels like you can't ever catch your bearings, which we've already talked about. But the word of the year, I just feel like it is just pivot. So keep that in mind. So I want you to, if you can relate to anything I have talked about today, I would love for you to join me at the Reflect and Renew Challenge. It is coming up on December 28th. And I know you're like, well, hold up. You just told me to take a break over winter break. And you're right. I did. I sure did. Now, this challenge, actually, this is the second year in a row I have done it. It's just a 3-day challenge. It really is not much of a time commitment from you. And I did it last year before I even knew COVID was coming. So ironically, is the perfect challenge for what we're facing right now. And I just told you the word of the year I feel like is pivot. Well, I have definitely pivoted. If you're okay, I'm going to go through some things you might be saying right now. I can't make it live. Like I'm going to be visiting with family or, that's right after Christmas. I'm going to be putting up my tree or I'm spending time with my kids. I get it. I have 3 boys. Trust me, I 100% get it. I'll be doing 1 Facebook Live a day. You'll be getting a daily email. I'll be putting a prompt inside the challenge Facebook group. That's it. That's it. You will be able to reflect on your own time. If you cannot make it live, still sign up because you will still get the emails and you do not want to miss the emails. I've already written them and scheduled them out. They are really, really full of content that you are going to want, I promise. So if you can't make it live, don't go, oh, well, it's December 20th. I can't make it. Sign up because you will still get the emails. You will still be able to watch the Facebook Live replays on your own time, okay? In the free challenge, you're going to learn how to reflect on the beginning of the school year, the school year and set goals as we head into the rest of the school year, because we just talked about that. It's hard to reflect on what you did the beginning of the school year if it's a continuous snowball, which is the perfect word to use in winter, by the way, that just never stops, rolling down the hill. You never stop moving. You don't have time to stop and think about what's been going on. So day one, we're going to reflect on the last few months of school and identify your highs and lows. You will be able to post about it in the group, collaborate with other music teachers in the challenge who are going to push you on and spur you forward. This includes thinking about your teaching situation, what lessons have or haven't worked with virtual or in-person learning, and getting back to your why of being a music teacher. Maybe you're feeling frustrated right now. You're flustered. You're overwhelmed. You're just like, why am I in this? Why am I doing this? There's no point. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of teaching during a pandemic. Let's get you back to your why. So day one is all about reflecting. I'm going to give you action steps to help you do that, and not just say, okay, go off and reflect. No, you're going to get action steps to really, it's just super simple action steps. I'm not giving you a homework full of it, to do for a full day. Simple action steps to help you move forward. I had music teachers that went through this challenge with me last year who said they got so much out of it. They signed up just thinking it was going to be like, meh, and got so much out of it that they said they are so glad. It really did help them adjust their mindset to go back into the rest of the school year. Or maybe you're like where I shared my story up, where you are starting your brand new teaching position or starting at a brand new school in January. And you just need to kind of get your mindset right before you start at a new school, whether it's teaching in person or virtually. Okay, day two, we're going to talk about looking ahead. So day one, we're going to talk about thinking back to what went well, what didn't go so well at the beginning of the school year, thinking about your why, all the lessons, and talk about all those things. Day two is looking ahead, looking towards the rest of the school year. We're going to look ahead to the rest of the school year, focus on what needs to get done to make it successful. During the school year, things have been turned upside down due to COVID. We'll look ahead to the rest of the school year to help you renew your focus and face your new way of teaching. And then day three is goal setting. So this is the day we've looked behind, we've looked ahead. Now we're going to set some goals to get you going. You'll set some goals and write out action steps to help you meet them. The main goal is to teach music to your students while helping them be their most creative selves. We'll make goals together and how you can help them actively make music while keeping you from feeling burnt out in the process. That's the whole goal, right? I've talked a lot about that today. Also, you're going to be getting a bonus training. So sign up for that email. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. During the challenge, I'll be doing a live training on how to teach with technology, how to teach music effectively, no matter what your teaching situation looks like. Maybe you've been struggling with how much technology? What should I use to teach with? What should I give my students to do when they're not with me? How do I know how much of what to do? We're going to talk about that together. You're going to also be receiving a bonus PDF. Only those of you that sign up for the challenge will be receiving the PDF. That's why it's important to sign up for the emails, even if you are not able to attend live, of different technology ideas to use in your classroom and with your students. So every day you get a challenge email full of action steps. I'll go live in the Facebook group. It's the Elementary Music Teacher Community Facebook group. And after you sign up, you'll see a link to join that Facebook group. You'll get to know other music teachers in the challenge. And by sharing about the challenge on my Facebook page, you'll see a post pinned to the very top. And on Instagram, there's a post about the challenge. If you share either of those posts, or tag a friend in the comments, then you will be entered to win a free copy of my ebook, Make a Note What You Really Need to Know About Teaching Elementary Music. I'll be giving 3 copies away. Subscribepage.com/reflect and renew. I hope you can join me live. I hope that you are able to join the challenge. I really cannot wait. I realize it's a very terrible time of the year. In fact, I know that it's wedged right between Christmas and the New Year. I'm going to be helping you guys and spurring you on and helping you reflect and renew to move forward into the rest of the school year successfully. So if that sounds good, Sounds like something you need, sounds like something you want, then go ahead and join us. I can't wait to see you there. Have an amazing rest of your day, rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening into the Elementary Music Teacher podcast. There is an exclusive Facebook group just for listeners of this podcast and any elementary music teacher called the Elementary Music Teacher Community Facebook group. Come on over and join us there where we have conversations around the podcast episodes and encourage each other each and every week. And also head to my website, thedomesticmusician.com. I have some free resources there that you can download to help you gain traction in your classroom today, as well as the blog and the membership site and all kinds of other goodies to help you keep going in your music teaching journey. I cannot wait to keep connecting with you and encouraging you and spurring you on in your journey of teaching elementary music. Hang in there, have an amazing week, and I will see you soon.